The internet won't stop talking about T.I. and his son King Harris, and for good reason. Word on the street is that things between them have gone from tense to downright explosive, with public callouts, family drama, and whispers of legal trouble all swirling in the mix. Let's break down what's really going on. It all kicked off back in September 2022 when King Harris, just 18 at the time, got pulled over in Atlanta for something minor, not wearing a seatbelt. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. A video went viral showing the officer hitting him with 4 separate charges from that one stop. When King got out, he hopped on social media, grinning like it was nothing. "The king is back. I'm free," he said, treating the whole thing like a joke. But nobody was laughing, especially not his pops. T.I. wasted no time. He went live on Instagram and laid it all out, raw and unfiltered. He said he'd already warned King, warned his mama Tiny, warned both grandmothers, everybody in earshot, that if the boy kept playing these games, the streets were going to collect. And not in a small way. This wasn't T.I. being petty or clout chasing. This was a father, visibly shaken, telling the world that he sees the crash coming and can't steer his son out of it. Real fear, real frustration, real love buried under all that disappointment. T.I. looked dead into that camera and said what most fathers would never say out loud. If he keeps this up, he is going to prison. Period. There ain't no detour. There ain't no loophole. There ain't nothing I can do to stop it. The only person who can save him is him. I already said what I had to say. I already made my peace with it. But then he went deeper, and that's when the whole internet stopped scrolling. He said he knows that energy, not from watching it, not from reading about it, from living it. He looked at King and saw a younger version of himself. The same swagger, the same recklessness, the same bulletproof mentality that makes a young man believe consequences don't apply to him. T.I. didn't have to guess how this story ends. He already read the last chapter from the inside of a federal cell. Drug charges, weapons charges, years of his life handed over to the system. He wore those shackles. He ate that food. He counted those days. So when he says he sees where King is headed, that's not a prediction, that's a testimony. And still, he wasn't done. He called King a good kid with bad aim, chasing the wrong things with the right potential. Said he's leaving it in God's hands now because his own hands are empty. Then he broke down what years of fatherhood looked like behind the scenes. Every whooping that could be given was given. Every punishment was served. Every conversation was had. Every warning was delivered. The boy has been disciplined, corrected, grounded, lectured, and loved hard. And none of it stuck. So now what? Now life gets to teach the lesson. That's what T.I. was really saying. Not that he quit on his son, but that he's run out of tools. The belt didn't work. The talks didn't work. The groundings didn't work. When a father stands in front of millions and admits that his toolbox is bone dry and the only instructor left is reality itself, that's not weakness. That's the most painful kind of honesty a parent can offer. The internet split right down the middle. Half the people said T.I. was the realest father in hip-hop for saying what countless parents feel but are too ashamed to admit. The other half dragged him, saying no real father ever waves the white flag on his own blood. But both sides missed the point. T.I. wasn't giving up. He was grieving in advance. He was mourning a future he could already see because he had already lived it. The arrest, the courtroom, the orange jumpsuit, the regret that hits at 3 a.m. when the cell is quiet and there's nobody left to blame but yourself. He's been in that silence. He knows what it sounds like. And right before he ended that live stream, he dropped one last line that hung in the air like smoke. "This isn't free. This comes at a cost. I can't believe this, man. Why don't y'all make some love music? Y'all got girls. Why don't you talk about being in love, man?" T.I. wasn't joking. He wasn't being sarcastic. He was begging his son to choose a different lane. But King wasn't trying to hear it. To really understand how T.I. got to the point where he's publicly mourning his son's future, you have to rewind to late November 2023, when the Harris family drama stopped being whispers and became a full-blown spectacle. It all went down at the Atlanta Falcons game against the New Orleans Saints on November 26th. T.I. had just performed on the field as part of hip-hop's 50th anniversary celebration, should have been a proud moment, a legacy moment, father and son side by side soaking in the culture. Instead, it turned into a family argument that the whole internet got front row seats to. A video leaked, and in it, you can hear T.I. challenging his son's whole persona. "King, have you ever woken up with a roach on your face?" The Bankhead legend asked, voice sharp. "All right then, you don't know what you're talking about." That's not just a question. That's a reality check wrapped in frustration. T.I. wasn't trying to embarrass his son. He was trying to snap him out of a fantasy. "You didn't live that life, so stop selling it like you did." But King, he didn't flinch, didn't apologize, didn't humble himself. Instead, he doubled down. "Do you all want to go to the bando in my neighborhood?" King shot back, ready to prove something. Then he flipped it on his pops, accusing him of lying about how things really were back in the day. That's when you could feel the shift. This wasn't just father-son banter. This was a generational collision. T.I. lived in survival mode. King grew up in success mode. And now the son was trying to cosplay the struggle his father bled to escape, while the father watched in disbelief, unable to make him understand the difference between playing hood and being hood. King wasn't backing down. He fired back at his father, saying T.I. was just talking for the cameras, trying to protect his image. "Silver spoon? I never had that a day in my life," King said, his voice rising. That's when Tiny stepped in. She told King straight up, "Yeah, you did grow up with a silver spoon." But King wasn't hearing it. He said he spent most of his time at his grandmother's house anyway, and that he didn't want to be locked up behind gates in some mansion. "I don't want to be in these gates. I want to be outside in the neighborhood," he said, like being rich was the problem. Then Tiny did something nobody saw coming. She grabbed the phone and aired her son out in front of thousands of people. She said the real reason King always wanted to be at his grandma's was because she let him use a pacifier until he was 12 years old. Something he wasn't allowed to do at home. And when he couldn't have it, he'd cry like a baby. You could see it on King's face. That one hurt, not just because it was embarrassing, but because his own mama said it on live in front of the world. "What's wrong with y'all?" King snapped, voice cracking. "Why are y'all doing that to me? You all know me. You know I stand by what I say. Why would you let someone play with me like that?" It wasn't a question. It was a plea. And nobody answered. Things got physical fast. The energy in that suite flipped from heated to dangerous. Tiny jumped between King and T.I. as they got face to face, voices overlapping, fingers pointing. T.I. grabbed his son, held him back, and let him have it. Told him he was embarrassing himself and the whole family. That there was nothing King could do to him. That he needed to sit down before he did something he couldn't take back. People around them scrambled to break it up before it went too far, and the clip cut off. But King wasn't done. Later that day, he took to Instagram, posted up like he had something to prove. He said he stands on what he believes and doesn't care who you are. Nobody gets to disrespect him to his face because he's a grown man now. Chest out, ego bruised, pride on full display. Then he posted something that made the whole internet go silent. He hinted that he'd been told by his own parents that he was a mistake. And he accused T.I. of faking their relationship for the cameras, playing the loving father role online while treating him different behind closed doors. He deleted the posts not long after. But the damage was done. Screenshots don't forget. The internet doesn't forgive. And now the world had seen a young man, barely out of his teens, call himself unwanted and publicly question whether his father ever really loved him at all. The clip didn't just leak. It exploded. His parents told the world he grew up with a silver spoon. He told the world he didn't. And everybody watching could see this wasn't a scripted moment. This was real family pain playing out in HD. But here's the thing. That Falcons game blow-up wasn't random. It didn't come out of nowhere. King Harris had been spiraling for a minute, and the internet had been watching the whole time. A lot of people remember King from when he was just a kid on T.I. and Tiny. The family hustle. Back then, he was adorable. Goofy smile, funny one-liners, living large in mansions and luxury whips. America watched him grow up on TV. But somewhere along the way, that cute kid turned into someone his parents didn't recognize, and neither did the public. Fast forward to 2022. King went viral, but not for music, not for talent. For acting a fool at a Waffle House in Atlanta. The whole thing was caught on camera because he was the one streaming it. King Harris, 17 years old, son of a multimillionaire rapper, is going ballistic over pickles. That's right, pickles. He didn't want them on his food, and when they showed up anyway, he lost it. In the video, you can hear him going off on the workers. One of them told him if he really had a problem, he should come back here behind the counter and handle it. And King? He didn't hesitate. He climbed on top of the counter like he was about to jump over and square up. "Come here. I'll show you what I can do." He kept yelling, puffing his chest, playing tough in front of minimum wage workers just trying to get through their shift. When he finally went outside, he didn't let it go. He stood in the parking lot taunting them, throwing out threats, acting like he had something to prove. The internet didn't hold back. "T.I., come get your son. This is not the way." One person commented on YouTube, "I know his parents raised him better than that. Use your manners." Another wrote, "People were genuinely confused. This is the son of Tip and Tiny. Two people who came from nothing, built empires, and preached discipline. How did this happen? How does a kid with every advantage turn into the type to pop off at Waffle House employees over condiments?" T.I. didn't ignore it. He got on camera and addressed the Waffle House situation directly, and you could hear the exhaustion in his voice. He said he and King's uncles sat the boy down and had a conversation about it. But even they couldn't make sense of it. "We were confused about his need to go back and forth with the short order cook," T.I. said. "Not angry, not yelling, just genuinely baffled. Like, 'Son, what are you doing?' And the internet wasn't letting it slide either. People dragged King hard, not just for the Waffle House incident, but for the bigger picture. The narrative took shape fast. Here was a kid who grew up behind gates in mansions with a famous father and every door open that most young men in Atlanta would kill to walk through, and he was out here cosplaying the streets for clout. That became the story. Privileged kid playing gangster. And the receipts kept piling up. In 2020, a video surfaced of King fighting in a school bathroom. By 2022, he was catching real charges. By 2023, he was in his father's face at an NFL game, challenging the man who built the life he was rebelling against. Every year, the spiral got worse. Every incident got louder. And the gap between who King was and who he was pretending to be got wider. His mother tried to hold it together. Tiny admitted King had always been a handful, lovable but chaotic. She said he was never really from the hood. But unlike his brothers and sisters, he stayed in trouble. Always fighting. Always slapboxing at school like it was a full-contact sport. She said what every parent with more than one kid already knows. There's always that one. The one who tests every boundary, breaks every rule, and makes you question everything you thought you knew about raising children. Then, in late December 2023, Tiny went live at a Charlie Wilson concert and doubled down on defending her son. She said King stands on business, that he's a good person underneath all the noise.